Thank you for joining us for part 3 of this module called It Makes You Feel Much Better About Life, Journaling to Support Addiction Recovery, Implications for Child Welfare. This is being presented by Amy Krentzman. I'm an associate professor of social work at the University of Minnesota, and also presented by Bonnie Horgos, who is a doctoral student in our program. By the way, the quote, "It makes you feel much better about life," was a direct quote from one of our research participants stating what she felt about positive recovery journaling. In this third module, we're going to talk about implications for social work practice and addiction treatment services. We're going to talk about implications for child welfare practice, and we have a bonus segment for you, which is about how gratitude supports addiction recovery. You'll notice that there's a very strong gratitude component in positive recovery journaling, and gratitude is very important to addiction recovery. So we have sort of a mini module built into the module to directly speak to that topic. And finally, we'll conclude with an invitation for you to be involved in our future work. So what are some of our conclusions from our research on positive recovery journaling? Well, in the second study, there were no main effects of positive recovery journaling, but positive recovery journaling cognitions and behaviors correlated significantly with a wide range of well-being factors. So if we use positive recovery journaling to enhance those cognitions and behaviors, those things could lead to improvements in well-being. It is likely that other therapeutic activities, such as survey items, mutual aid meetings, and host treatment center recommendations, activated positive recovery journaling cognitions and behaviors, so that the control group was getting a lot of the kinds of benefits that the journaling was designed to be enhancing. And therefore, there was not much of a difference between the treatment group and the control group. Positive recovery journaling might be most impactful for those who haven't yet successfully engaged in a wide range of other recovery activities. So positive recovery journaling might be a wonderful tool to put right into the hands of people when they're very early on in their recovery journey, so that they can start to get those tools in motion that can help them start to feel better and better about each day in recovery. What about future research on positive recovery journaling? Well, we would like to test positive recovery journaling in a larger randomized control trial. From such a study, we'd be able to learn for whom does positive recovery journaling work best, the impact of positive recovery journaling on treatment outcomes, and how does positive recovery journaling improve treatment outcomes if it does. For example, we'd be able to tell whether positive recovery journaling decreased negative affect and whether negative affect went on to improve treatment outcomes. We'd be able to do an analysis like that. That's called a mediation analysis. Does negative affect mediate the effect of positive recovery journaling on treatment outcomes? And with a larger sample, we'd be able to do such analyses. Next, I turn over the floor to Bonnie Horgos to talk about positive recovery journaling and its application to child welfare.
I will now be discussing positive recovery journaling and its application to child welfare. To start things off, I wanted to give a quick overview on positive recovery journaling's relevance to child welfare. As you may know, many individuals involved in the child welfare system may have a history of alcohol use disorder and/or substance use disorder. As we have discussed in this presentation, there is some preliminary evidence that positive recovery journaling might be helpful to people in early recovery. However, there may be other applications to child welfare as well. For instance, parents and young people involved in the child welfare system may experience significant trauma, and positive recovery journaling is designed to increase gratitude, to encourage thinking kindly of others, and to bring attention to what went well or badly in a day so that the next day can be better. Positive recovery journaling also can help individuals to plan a rewarding upcoming day. These journaling activities might be helpful to people involved in the child welfare system, whether they have a substance use disorder or not. I will now be discussing the different ways that positive recovery journaling can be used in child welfare. In terms of working with parents, there are several possible applications. When working with parents pre-termination, one primary aim is reunification with their children. When working with parents post-termination, families involved in the child welfare system often experience minimal support. Positive recovery journaling could help increase parents' positive emotions and feelings of well-being, which could help them meet their goals. Furthermore, the child welfare system is complicated and involves tremendous amounts of scheduling and maintenance of appointments. Positive recovery journaling may be helpful for parents involved in the child welfare system in terms of keeping track of upcoming appointments and important dates. As we discussed earlier, there is a place in the journal to write down important reminders for the coming day. Another useful application of positive recovery journaling may be for helping parents as they process grief and loss during their involvement in the child welfare system. Positive recovery journaling may help parents with self-reflection and self-expression. In addition, there may be many future uses for professionals supporting different individuals involved in the child welfare system, such as parents with disabilities, lower IQs, or traumatic brain injuries. Positive recovery journaling may also be helpful for young people involved in the child welfare system, such as young adults in foster care, as well as those aging out of the system. Positive recovery journaling may also be helpful in group homes for those aging out of the system. As mentioned, positive recovery journaling could help boost positive emotion in youth and enhance their well-being, which could be an aid to them as they face challenging circumstances. One application of positive recovery journaling may be as a tool for young adults by supporting independent living and maintaining schedules. As you may know, this can be a difficult transition for young people, and positive peer journaling may be useful as a tool for organization. In addition, many young people involved in the child welfare system have often experienced trauma. In our research, positive recovery journaling was associated with increases in well-being and positive behavior for those in recovery. And these benefits may be seen with young people involved in the child welfare system as well. Although keep in mind that we have not yet tested positive recovery journaling with adolescents. Finally, positive recovery journaling may be a tool for child welfare professionals. They might use positive recovery journaling themselves to amplify feelings of gratitude and cultivate other positive emotions to support the difficult work they do. Primarily, positive recovery journaling may support CASHU's work in educating human service professionals, such as caseworkers and guardians ad litem, by providing them with a tool that is designed to amplify positive emotion and well-being. Positive recovery journaling can help caseworkers to support healing for their clients involved in the child welfare system, as well as reunification efforts. As you may know, the child welfare system varies from county to county here in Minnesota. Therefore, positive recovery journaling may help create a sense of cohesion throughout the state if several counties are using the same tool.
Positive recovery journaling makes a wonderful group session topic. I know from teaching the journaling that participants are readily engaged in the practice and learn it quite easily. We have developed a positive recovery journaling treatment manual. Please write to us and we will provide it to you. The treatment manual teaches you how to teach positive recovery journaling over 8 group sessions. I'll provide you with a few tips for teaching positive recovery journaling to clients. First of all, remember that for the good things that happen list, the hint is that small things count. For the things I am grateful for list, the hint is to think of things we usually take for granted. When people write their wishes for others, invite them to choose someone on the list who they will write their name on the social column on the right-hand side of the page and intend to reach out to that person in the coming day. This helps to foster interpersonal bonds. With the example you see here, you'll notice under wishes for others, the person wrote, "My brother and family is good and well," and then they've carried that forward onto the social column on the right-hand side to call and check in on their brother. When I teach journaling in a group, I also journal alongside with the clients. And when we go around in a circle, we read out what we've written, but only what we feel comfortable and safe sharing. And I myself also share what I have written, being judicious about what I choose to share. We share the good things that happen list, go around in a circle. The things I am grateful for, go around in a circle. The wishes for others, go around in a circle with each person taking a turn. And then we share all at once the right-hand side of the page. I also encourage you to use the Important Life Areas worksheet in your work with clients. This too makes, I have found, a very nice 1-hour session with a group. You present the list of important life areas, you have people choose the one that's calling to them most strongly, and then you silently write for several minutes as they answer the questions related to that life area. And then you can simply go around the group and people can feel free to share out what they've written, only what they feel comfortable sharing. As you read this example on the slide, you'll see there's a lot of mechanisms related to motivational interviewing implied in a values exercise like this one. And if you choose to help people make action items that are measurable, observable, and the next small step, there might be time in that hour to do that activity as well. Some concluding thoughts about positive recovery journaling. In the research on our work with positive recovery journaling and the work conducted by others on research on journaling, research on positive psychology, what all three of these fields of study have shown is that participants like these activities. They're willing to do them. They're willing to recommend them to others. These are aspects of our work with clients that they find enjoyable and validating. In the list of further readings that we will link you to, there's a study by James McKay called Making the Hard Work of Recovery More Attractive for Those with Substance Use Disorders. In that article, McKay argues that recovery and treatment for addiction must become enjoyable and attractive for people with addictions so that they are willing to engage with treatment, so that they're able to be successful in treatment. If they leave treatment and they need to come back to us, they'll want to come back. And I believe these sorts of interventions go a long way toward helping the task of recovery, the task of treatment, become more positive and enjoyable for people. I'd like to invite you to join my next research study. In this next study, I will provide workshops to teach providers how to conduct a positive recovery journaling group at their facility. Priority will go to providers in rural settings, but we hope that we won't have to turn anyone away. The training will be free and includes free CEUs for you. This is going to take place starting approximately spring 2023, and if you're at all interested, go ahead and go to this link that you see in the lower right-hand corner of the slide, z.umn.edu/trainppj. Go to that link and fill out a very brief Google form expressing your interest and telling us who you are, and we will be in touch with you as we move forward. Finally, here in part 3, we're going to conclude with a bonus segment. This is a short YouTube video that I recorded in the past year with the title, How Gratitude Supports Addiction Recovery. And we wanted to include it here for you to help enhance your learning about addiction and the role that gratitude plays in addiction recovery. Again, as you noticed, positive recovery journaling has a tremendous gratitude component, and gratitude journaling has become more and more popular. This mini lecturette built within this module will help you learn more about why gratitude is so supportive of addiction recovery. So the module is about 11 minutes long, and we're going to include it in its totality within this video you're watching now. But I want you to know it's available as a standalone YouTube video for you to feel free to use. It's accessible on YouTube at the following link, z.umn.edu/gratitude and recovery. Please feel free to enjoy the module. Here it comes. Hello. In this video, I'll be talking about how gratitude supports addiction recovery. My name is Amy Krentzman. I'm an associate professor of social work at the University of Minnesota in the Twin Cities, and I study addiction recovery, and I study gratitude, the topic of this video. We'll start with the definition. What is gratitude? Gratitude is a positive, good feeling that occurs when a person feels thankfulness, appreciation, or recognition of something good. In this video, I'll also be talking about gratitude practices. A gratitude practice is, for example, writing a gratitude list. If anyone's ever told you write a gratitude list and you went ahead and did that, that would be what I would call a gratitude practice. In this video, we'll be answering the question, how does gratitude support addiction recovery? To answer this question, I'll be presenting a series of psychological theories and ideas. The first theory I'll be presenting is a theory of addiction and the brain. This theory says that addiction changes the brain, and these changes affect early recovery. In early recovery, these changes in the brain make it easier to feel stress and harder to feel positive emotion. But these changes get better with abstinence. So how can a gratitude practice help with these changes to the brain? Well, a gratitude practice can help produce positive emotion in response to everyday, ordinary pleasures. And it can also train the brain to feel positive emotion again. The next theory I'll discuss is a theory called the negativity bias. The negativity bias says that for all human beings, negative thoughts, emotions, and experiences have a greater impact on us than positive or neutral experiences. And all people have this negativity bias, whether they've had an addiction or not. They say that the negativity bias serves an evolutionary purpose, and by that they mean that paying a lot of attention to negative things could help with survival. I don't know if you're familiar with John Gottman's research on couples and relationships. There's a finding from John Gottman's research that to me really speaks to the negativity bias. John Gottman has found that for every one negative event, happy couples experience 20 positive events. To me, this suggests the presence of the negativity bias. If there were no negativity bias, then one positive event would be balanced out by one negative event, and those couples would be happy. But according to Gottman, those couples would be very unhappy. Gottman goes on to say that when happy couples are working through a conflict, for every one negative event, they experience 5 positive events. So even when talking about something difficult, the good largely outweighs the bad. So how can a gratitude practice help counter the negativity bias? Well, if the negativity bias is like a seesaw that's always tipping toward the negative, that's always giving more weight to the negative, then gratitude can go ahead and start giving more weight to the positive, to the other side of the seesaw. The next theory I'll talk to you about is called the theory of the hedonic treadmill. And hedonic means pleasure seeking. The hedonic treadmill says that each person has their usual average level of mood. So everyone has their average, or their normal, or their usual. And when something especially good happens, the person feels better than usual. And when something especially troubling happens, the person feels worse than usual. But the theory of the hedonic treadmill is that we always return to our usual level of mood. Some researchers have argued that it is possible for people to raise their average level of mood, but the hedonic treadmill basically says that improvements in life provide short-term happiness and then we become accustomed to them and they become the new normal. You can think of a time when you got something you really wanted and you were elated. Maybe you got that apartment you really wanted, or you met your significant other and things were going really well for you both, and you were really feeling fantastic. You were feeling over the moon. Maybe you got that job that you really wanted. But over time, we all know that after a while, we didn't feel elated anymore. We didn't feel thrilled. Those new things that at first were so wonderful just kind of fade into the background. And that's the hedonic treadmill. Furthermore, we get used to, or we adapt to good things that happen to us faster than we adapt or get used to bad things. So good things that happen fall into the background faster than bad things that happen. And the hedonic treadmill is another theory that applies to all human beings, whether they've had an addiction or not. So how can a gratitude practice help counter the hedonic treadmill? Well, a gratitude practice can reawaken the original good feeling we had when something good was new. The next theory I'll talk to you about is one of my favorites. It's the theory of the maintenance of behavior change. This theory says that individuals who are maintaining a behavior change, whether they realize it or not, they're regularly asking themselves, is this worth it? Is my life better now, after I've made the change, than it was before I made the change? And you can think of recovery as the maintenance of behavior change. This theory says that the answer has to be yes, for the person to continue to marshal all the effort and energy it takes to maintain the behavior change. So how can a gratitude practice help with the maintenance of behavior change? Well, gratitude can shine light on the ways that life in recovery is better than life in active addiction, and this can provide motivation to stay sober. The next idea I'll present to you is this idea that gratitude is a relationship enhancer. Several researchers have said that gratitude happens when we benefit from the positive actions of another person. So in their point of view, gratitude is fundamentally interpersonal. And when we receive something positive from another person, it motivates us to do something good, either to that person who helped us, or it motivates us to pay it forward and be good to someone else. So this can improve our interpersonal relationships and our positive bonds with other people. And it's led some researchers to say that gratitude is essential to everyday relationships. So given these ideas, how can a gratitude practice help support addiction recovery? Well, gratitude can help us strengthen relationships with others, and relationships with others, especially others who are also in recovery, is very supportive to addiction recovery. And having positive relationships with other people, whether they're in recovery or not, also can make life in recovery more positive. And this is my last idea about gratitude that I'll be presenting, and it's this idea that I call gratitude is transcendent. Researchers have said that gratitude is especially felt in response to a gift that cannot be repaid or a gift that is in some ways unearned. So how can a gratitude practice support addiction recovery given this idea that gratitude can especially be felt in response to a gift that is in some ways unearned? Well, in this way, gratitude can help generate a feeling of being fortunate, and in this way it can produce feelings of humility and awe. To summarize, how does gratitude support addiction recovery? Gratitude can help the brain get in the habit of producing positive emotion. Gratitude can give greater weight to what is going well. Gratitude can reawaken the original good feelings when something positive that happened to us was new. Gratitude can shine light on the ways that life in recovery is better than life in active addiction. Gratitude can provide motivation to stay sober. Gratitude can help strengthen relationships with others. Gratitude can generate a feeling of being fortunate or lucky. And finally, gratitude can produce feelings of humility and awe. With that, I'd like to express gratitude to the people who've supported my research, the community partners who let me come in and do my research studies in their locations, the people who've given me money to fund my research, a wonderful group of research assistants I've had over the years, and my employer, the University of Minnesota School of Social Work. If you're interested in reading further on any of the ideas I presented in this video, this link will bring you to a list of citations and references. I hope to make many more of these videos. This is my way of sharing the results of my research with people who are in recovery. I thank you for listening. I hope there was something worthwhile for you here. As I make new videos, I'll tweet them out or post them on LinkedIn. Thank you and have a nice day. Finally, in conclusion, we leave you with a set of the quick links that we've talked about over the course of this module. There's a link for further reading. There is a link to the Gratitude and Recovery YouTube video. There's a link to let me know of your interest in participating in our next study. Bonnie and I thank you so very much for your kind attention listening to these modules. We hope you learned something interesting. We're so open to your feedback and your questions. Please reach out to us for any reason, and all the best to you. And once again, thank you so very much for all that you do.